Bourbon, Broncos, and No BS. Fans, brews, and Broncos news. Good evening, Broncos Country. Welcome to another edition of Bourbon, Broncos, and No BS, Year 10 edition. We are moving on here through our 10th year anniversary, guys. And fortunately, we don't have as much good stuff to talk about tonight as we would have hoped. And we'll get into that in a little bit. But as always, guys, we're going to start breaking down this last week's game against the Indianapolis Colts. And halfway through the show, we will transition over officially into week 3 and start talking about this upcoming game against the Chargers. But tonight we got David here. It's gonna be the Kev, Dan, and David show. How you doing, buddy?
Oh, you know, Kev, it's never as fun to come on and talk about a loss as it is to talk about a win. But it's still early in the season, still got a lot to talk about, and excited to be here with Broncos Country.
So you're saying don't hit the panic button yet?
No, still don't. Sorry, guys, not allowed.
No, not allowed yet. But I will start with this, David. The one thing that's kind of really annoying me with this whole thing from this last week's game is I wish we could spend a lot more time really talking about how this offense improved and talking about some of the plays Bo Nix, pulled out. I mean, I only saw one video of Bo Nix scrambling around out there to get that 40-yard pass downfield to Franklin, right? Saying if this was Patrick Mahomes, we'd be seeing it 10,000 times. But one, because the Broncos lost, and two, it's not Patrick Mahomes. Nobody's really focusing on that. Everyone's focusing on the defense, the defensive problems, the flag at the end of the game, which we'll get your thoughts on it and everything too. But it's sad that we're sitting here going like the Broncos did arguably better, a lot better between weeks 1 and 2, but nobody's really focusing on that at all.
Yeah, and offensive improvements are great, but there's this obviously the side of that coin that we're seeing now is that it just doesn't matter as much if you don't win the game. So yeah, we've got a lot to talk about in that arena. The running game was more consistently a part of the overall game plan for all 4 quarters, which was great to see. That really opened things up, I felt like, for the offense. We saw Bo Nix be a lot sharper just in general as compared to what he was in week 1. And obviously we saw him make some of those improvisation plays that we really love. Troy Franklin looks really good.
Really good.
Yeah, the breakout that we saw in we kept hearing about in training camp has not been exaggerated, and that rocks. So yeah, we'll talk about the defense. I had this whole bit where I was going to get like a piece of cake and write crow on it and then eat it on camera so that I could eat crow for my comments about Daniel Jones. 'Cause I said it last week on this show. And then I said it again in the pregame podcast that Daniel Jones had to show it to me before I would believe it. And then he did it. So,
did.
But there's really, I can't make that much out of this game because I don't know that there's that much to make out of this game. I refuse to talk about the penalty in detail, the game-ending penalty in detail.
That's fair.
I'm just not going to do it, guys. It was a penalty. And you can point to all of these other plays that didn't get called the same way that you want and pretend to understand the rules of how the kickoff and the leverage, or, the field goal team and leverage are supposed to be called. I don't understand it at all. And I'm not going to take anybody's word for it. And I just don't care. I don't care. Right. The Broncos gave that game away 7 times before we got to a 60-yard field goal attempt versus a 45-yard field goal attempt. And I'm not going to discuss it past that.
No, I think at the end of the day, the point to take home here is you have to win despite the refs. If you are relying on the refs to bail you out or to, not throw a flag where there maybe should be one, or a bad call goes against you at the end of the game, and that's the reason why you lost, right? What about all the chances before that that you could have had to put something away, to end the game, to stop the other team? The defense didn't do hardly anything all day long. Yeah, they kept them out of the end zone, but they were bending so much more than what they really should be doing. And then that led to them breaking a little bit more. And then you can look at the offense, and I want to get your take on this too. I mean, that 2-minute drive before the half from the Broncos offense, those 3 plays, absolutely disgustingly atrocious in play design, thrown to the middle of the field, not even aiming for the sideline to stop the clock if it's an incomplete. The whole thing was like, you had a chance to put up 3 points there at least, and you totally blew that away. So plenty of options, like you're saying.
Say that, and then at the end of the game, we talked about how great the Broncos offense was, but at the end of the game, you have 2 drives that get into Colts territory. You miss a field goal on one drive, and then Bo Nix gets pressured into throwing an interception on the next drive, and that's 6 points just wiped off the board. That you get those 6 points, just those 6 points. You don't even have to score touchdowns on those drives, and we're not talking about the possibility of a 60-yard field goal versus a 45-yard field goal ending the game for the Colts. So, it's just, and all of that, I still truly believe that you can chalk up a ton of that, Kev Dan, to it being week 2. To just, these guys are trying to get it together. They ran up against a team that it took me by surprise as a fan, that looked better than I gave them credit for, than I was willing to give them credit for, and might be a wild card contender at the very least now, might be contending for the AFC South division come the year's end. We'll see. It's still really early.
It's early, but
it's super. Yeah. But, for 2 weeks in a row now, the Colts have looked like one of the best outfits in the NFL top to bottom, and the Broncos played them close, had a chance to win in Indianapolis, and gave the game away with a couple of stupid plays that hopefully they'll get fixed as the year goes along. Ultimately, if anybody's looking to make any kind of big deal out of what they saw this game, if you're trying to draw big season-long conclusions from what you saw out of this game, I just can't get with it.
No, and to kind of put it in further perspective of this is only week 2, do you know who the top 2 passing leaders in the league are right now?
Go on.
Do you want to take a guess?
Is Daniel Jones one of them?
And
go on. I couldn't.
Russell Wilson.
Yeah. Okay.
So those 2 guys are the passing leaders of the league. This is very much week 2, guys. Things are still kind of weird. I guarantee you at the end of the season, Russell Wilson will not be a passing leader by any stretch of the imagination. But yeah, you got to wonder, like, hey, if this is the Colts team where Daniel Jones is maybe now in a system that helps him flourish. The coaching staff is really good. The GM or owner is over there with her little headpiece in, and that's helping them out, or like whatever they're doing. If this is them consistently, that's going to be a problem for that division, right? And they can make a lot of noise. So this could be a game we look back and instead of saying, "Wow, we lost to the Colts," be like, "Wow, we hung in there with the Colts." So you just don't know. You just don't know which way it's going to go.
Right.
So I think right now it's more like, if the Broncos don't turn this over sooner rather than later, man, we're looking at a tough few games up ahead. And are we going to dig ourselves in a hole waiting for this to turn around, or are we going to be able to turn this around now, especially on defense?
That's the bigger question for sure. That's the bigger question. Do we have what it takes to continue improving on a week-to-week basis now? There's more, like you said, Kev Dan, there's more tough opponents coming up. You've got Cincinnati in 2 weeks, but first you've got to play the Chargers. So you've got Chargers, then Bengals, and then you've got the Eagles, I think is correct. So you've got the Super Bowl champion Eagles, who just shot down the Chiefs to make them 0-2. It's, the Bengals don't have a terrifically talented defense, but both the Chargers and the Eagles do, and they're both really well coached on that side of the ball. It doesn't, you're right, Kev, it doesn't get any easier. So you are going to have to, I know that's the way the schedule plays out, and it's tough, but it's just, that's the way it is in the NFL. Every team is tough. And so you're going to have to show week to week improvement without making the excuse that the schedule is really hard right now. If you are that team, you can still be that team that has all these big, high expectations and postseason aspirations, right? You can still be that team after losing to the Colts 29-28 on the road in week 2. But you've got to show now that you can continue to improve.
Yep. Let's get to some of these comments really quickly here from Bill. They're calling him Indiana Jones. I'm not going to call him that yet. He still hasn't earned anything. Well, let's see how he does after week 3 and 4 and 5. But I think for the Colts fans, they've basically had no one since Andrew Luck, and even with Andrew Luck, and nothing against him. I know the injuries and everything, but there wasn't much there either. So essentially, since they threw away Peyton Manning, and that's literally what they did, is they tossed him up and threw him away. They've kind of been going through their own little quarterback hell. And I got to say, I know I said it in the text, but it's so good to see the quarterback carousel graphic not being used for the Broncos.
Yeah.
So I can relate to what Colts fans have gone through. He says, at least the Raiders lost, small victories, and at least the Chiefs are 0-2, like you said, David. That's got to bring at least a little smile to our face, right?
Absolutely.
I like this from Mike. It's not out of the realm of possibilities that Denver could see Indy again in the playoffs. Yeah. Yep. And you better hope that that's a Denver home game if that's true, because those fans, they were into it. That's for sure.
And that, Indy offensive line is no joke. Like we talked about it a little bit in the pregame podcast, but man, they did a really good job at keeping Daniel Jones clean, and he did a really good job of executing within the offense when he had that opportunity to stay clean in the pocket. They had Vance Joseph guessing, and even when he threw some creative stuff at them in the second half, they got to him a couple of times, but it was just a really impressive job top to bottom by that Indianapolis offense. And sometimes you tip your hat to them, even if it's doesn't necessarily mean that Indy is a playoff team, and they might be. But even if they end up not being that kind of team at the end of the season, you can still go through it now and say, man, they kind of whooped us a little bit on that side of the ball. Yeah, for sure.
I like this. Keith says, hopefully the defense got that shit out of their system. That's for sure. And we'll break that down a little bit more here in a little bit. And then from Gary, I meant to bring this one up earlier. Dudes looking grand with a besmirching of amplitude in sportsmanship. Well said, Gary, and thank you to Gary, our marketing guy, and everything that he does. So if you guys see those fun little AI graphics and whatnot pop up, those are all from Gary. Let's see. Any more comments that I think I caught up to? Gary says, we have to remember that the Broncos had a rocky start last year and blew through a lot of wins later on. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Like, we started 0-2, and it was a lot of us in Broncos country were like, what's going on here? Is Bo Nix a bust? This just doesn't look good. And then we turned things around, right? They got things going. We saw that from the offenses last week. They went on the road against a tough defense and moved the ball efficiently. There was the one turnover. So they turned over, they cut the turnovers way down from week 1. And the one interception that Bo threw, it wasn't even like it was his fault. I mean, the defender just got his arm up in the right position and Bo had to throw around the arm. And so you got to wonder, like, in that split second, like, could Bo have done something like just thrown it to the ground or something? Like, maybe, but in that moment of time, like, there's so little time to make a decision and to really comprehend what's going on. So it's not like Bo just made a bad read or whatnot. So in general, there were a lot of improvements on the offensive side of the ball, man.
Yeah, for sure. It was more the offense that I expected to see coming out to start the season, where it was, that week 1 offense didn't really show a basic level of competency that was encouraging. They showed that in week 2. And that's, better. And I think that's more what we'll see. It's a closer offense to that than it is the week 1 offense right now. It's, it's just now a question of how much they can improve, like we said. And, we saw, as far as the running game, Kev, I think we saw stock up for J.K. Dobbins. Stock up for J.K. Dobbins, stock up, down for R.J. Harvey a little bit this week. Tyler Bidet, really just kind of one play that you remember from him for, but he did make that, take that screen for a first down on a critical drive. It was a pretty long third down that he converted, I think like 3rd and 15 or something. So you're seeing that the run game have a little bit more of an impact. You're seeing Dobbins come in and look, it's not like he's doing anything super dynamic. He's just running hard and going forward, I think is really the most. He's doing what he's asked to do, and I feel like that's a big improvement over what we've had in that running back room for a while.
Yeah, I would totally agree with that. I mean, he had 76 yards on the day. J.K. Dobbins did, and it's like just 24 more. I just want some running back to hit 100 yards for the day.
Great.
I don't know. I'm just asking for way too much.
No, and I get it. 100 yards, great. But you know what? If he averages 76 yards per game, I think that's 1,000-yard season.
It was a 5.4 yards per carry.
Yeah.
And that's huge. That's a great number.
Yeah. Yeah. So a little bit more effectiveness there, a little bit more effectiveness from Bo Nix. Let's talk about Evan Ingram.
That's what I was going to bring up next.
Because
go for it.
Not a lot of effectiveness there, but guys, it's another one of those things where A, it's week 2, B, Evan Ingram is really fitting into a new offense for the first time and trying to figure out his new role. C, the whole Joker thing has been too much was made from the get-go and still is. D, they still line up Evan Ingram all over the formation. He's getting a lot of looks in a lot of different places, even if he's not catching the ball necessarily. Where am I at? E, D, or E?
With which one?
I'm trying to make points here on a sequential order, and I can't remember if I'm on point D or point E. Next point, guys. He's coming off a quad injury. Not a quad injury. That's Drake Greenlaw. He's coming off, I think, a calf injury. Yeah, injury. They were going to ease him in this week. He wasn't going to be 100%. He wasn't going to play 70 snaps on offense this week. It just wasn't going to happen. So for all of those reasons, let's relax about Evan Ingram, guys. It's just not going to be that serious. He's going to step up in his role in the offense as the weeks go along. And he still had a pretty key, I think it was a 3rd down conversion of one of those in this game on, I think, what was a scoring drive, what ended up being a scoring drive. So let's just relax.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he did get that, when we got pushed back to the 1st and 25 near the end of the game, he was the one that got all that chunk yardage, at least put us into decent field goal range. Right. So I think the bigger concern is, man, we have this guy. We're so excited to have this guy, and people just aren't seeing him utilized. Right. You got to wonder what's going on with that calf. You got to wonder what's going on. And just at what point are we going to see that breakout? I think people are just so amped for it that they're maybe like, okay, pump the brakes. Like you're saying, let's work through this. This is a developing thing. The team has to come together and get on the same page. So, and then if they're just worried about making sure they don't, re-injure that calf because they want to use them more in the next couple games where things get harder. Okay, right. Let's be careful about that. So I don't know, man. It's just some interesting things, and I wish I was a fly on the wall. What was going on.
Right.
Oh man. So Spotty is not here because I wanted to get his take. But in terms of Sean Payton's play calling, we mentioned the 2-minute drive early on, but what were some of the things that you saw from that? Are there any concerns or just things you vehemently disagree with? How are you feeling about what's been going on there?
I thought it improved dramatically this game. Like we talked about a little bit, the run game being a featured part of the offense throughout the game. Bo Nix only had, I think, 30 passing attempts, which is a lot closer to, I think, what our ideal for him is throughout a game. And the offense still had 28 points. They still scored 4 touchdowns. So, even in a game where we have this many things to nitpick about the offense's performance, right? So, yeah, I think a much better job by Sean Payton. There's certain times where you're like, oh, man, what are you doing? But overall, that the play that got Adam Troutman score a touchdown on, that reminded me so much of the Kansas City Chiefs, where they just do something really funky and silly like that, and like they shift all of their skill players on the play, and don't get an illegal shift penalty and execute it perfectly, and the guy's just wide open because the defense doesn't know which way is up. It was really cool to see the Broncos offense pull that off. So that was cool. I have to give him a little bit more flowers this week as opposed to last week. No long-term concerns about that for me going forward. I want to talk about 2 receivers, Kevin, that I think we have to mention, and we'll save the best for last. First, Pat Bryant, and kudos to Pat Bryant and to the coaching staff for following through when they said this week in the course of practices that they didn't get Pat Bryant involved enough during week 1, and they wanted to make an emphasis of doing that this week, and they did it. And he had a couple of catches. I think he had a couple of first downs that were just kind of tough playmaking. There was no flash of speed, but there was open Pat Bryant. And that's what we really need to see in this offense. He was inside. He was doing that dirty work. And that was really cool to see him contributing right away as a 3rd-round rookie.
Yeah, I'd agree. We saw the ball being spread out, and I don't want to get ahead of who I think the next name is going to be. But in general, I mean, Pat Bryant's one of those guys we saw a lot of really good flashes from in preseason. And it wasn't just that he caught the ball and ran with it. It was that he was making adjustments on the field as the quarterback was scrambling, finding ways to get open, making adjustments mid-air to catch the ball, right? Like, experienced pro level kind of moves and football IQ that you wouldn't just expect to see from any rookie.
Right.
So, I think the want here from fans is to, let's get him some more experiences, get him some more looks out there, because we think he can do it too. Not just because we think he's a rookie that needs developed, but we think he can come through. And I think he's showing that. And I think just slowly as he builds more trust and more confidence in himself, but the connection between him and Bo, I think you're going to see him utilized a whole lot more.
Yeah. I think you're totally right about that. And then, obviously I think we have to talk about Troy Franklin, who has absolutely broken out. Caught his first touchdown pass of the season, over 100 yards receiving for the season already. And we have been having this debate this offseason about, who's wide receiver 2, et cetera, et cetera. And I think just from the amount that he's getting used right now, Troy Franklin is the clear answer to that question. And that's great for this Broncos offense.
Yeah. You can finally put a name to that position, and he's coming through. And that was the big thing from last year was, there were just so many opportunities that were just so close that they didn't connect on. And it was like, what could this look like if they finally did start connecting? And you're seeing it play out in front of you. Yeah. Again, it goes back to that one play where Franklin read what was going on and got downfield in the nick of time for Bo to roll out and throw deep to him. The guy was wide open, right? Smart playing, catching the balls, holding on to them. No funny stuff. But then, again, he had 89 yards for the day receiving. So 8 for 9, not really any drops or anything like that.
No drops.
Dude, this is a guy that, again, we're looking for receivers that we can trust. Last year, the drop problem was just too big to handle, right? And so this was probably a big point of emphasis over the entire offseason. So for him to go out there and play the way he has in the first 2 weeks, man, keep it up.
Yeah, absolutely. It remains to be seen what his ceiling is. He's just got to keep on the same trajectory, but it's really, really exciting. Brad's not doesn't sound as convinced as we are on this, but that's okay, Brad. Another question from Brad that I really want to talk about here is if the Broncos stay healthy and still miss the playoff, is Peyton's position in danger? And to me, Brad, and I'll throw this over to you, Kevin, in a second, but to me, Brad, just no. Like there are circumstances where I guess yes, but really only if Payton just like so clearly loses the locker room, like the players won't play for him. I think we're so far away from that point right now that it's not worth entertaining, even if they miss the playoffs this year.
No, I think they've given up too much capital for him too. You know, they've handed the keys over to this team to Sean Payton. He is in essence the GM. He's the one making all the player decisions, staffing decisions, all that stuff. And for the most part, it's going really well. You know, again, if it's something like we go 6-11 on the season, maybe there's like, hey, why did you let it get this bad? And you got to look at things like what you're talking about, the locker room. You know, you look at Miami, the president or whatever already had to put out a statement here going into week three explaining how they're going to continue forward with the current coaching staff and GM. You're like, that's a bad place to be in, right?
Yeah, right.
If they have to come out there and publicly announce that, things are bad. And so I think just with all, again, putting the trade in for Sean Payton, turning the keys over to him, and just trusting that this process is going to work out, I would say that you would need at least 2 really bad seasons in a row before it's like, dude, this is your last chance.
Right.
Yeah, turn it around now or you're gone.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
But I did want to bring this one up from Brad earlier too. No team are easy in this business. Saying we should beat this team is the wrong mental approach. I'd say the only one that doesn't apply to is the Cleveland Browns.
I don't think they're on the schedule this year. Yeah. Plus, they were on the schedule last year, and we saw how that turned out. So
yeah, exactly. Anthony, how you doing? Glad to see you here, man, as always. Okay, as we get close to transitioning over into week 3 officially here at Bourbon Broncos No B.S., David, what kind of last takeaways would you have from this game that if there's something we need to really focus on, improve moving forward into week 3, what would it be?
Just keep an eye on the defense. It's not, we'll see what happens against the Chargers, who also have decent pieces on the offensive line. Don't have, Amari and Hampton's an interesting guy, but he's not the caliber of runner that Jonathan Taylor is, certainly. And nor are these Chargers skill position players on the wide receiver side of the equation. Really the kind of complementary offensive skill group that I think the Colts have. So just how's it going to perform? You need a bounce back week. I think they can have a bounce back week. It's just now you got to go show it, right? Like go out there and show that what you showed against the Colts was an aberration, not what the season's going to be like.
Yeah. And the pressure is also on for it being a divisional game as well.
A divisional game against an opponent who's already 2-0 in the division specifically.
Yeah. And that's not where you want to be, right? You want to knock those guys down a peg. And hopefully it's kind of like for the Broncos, are coming out there with a chip on their shoulder, and they're not going to leave anything on the field. So we're going to break that down here in just a few minutes, guys. But first, it is halftime here at Bourbon Broncos No B.S. So let's go through all of the halftime announcements as David catches his breath, maybe combs his hair, under the hat, makes it look all nice, or readjusts the hat. I don't know, brushes the beard, does whatever he needs to do during halftime. Go grab a lemon or orange slice, buddy. I got this.
Wait, orange? Did somebody bring orange slices?
I mailed them to you. Did you not get it?
Well, I did get a very wet package and then threw it away because it was wet mail. So
that's fair. Hey guys, we got a ton of stuff for you here. Starting with this show, Bourbon Broncos No B.S. every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Mountain Time. We are live. Make sure you tune in and join the conversation. Don't forget about our podcast. First, the post-game podcast, which we do live as well, Mondays at 8 p.m. Mountain Time. And we also got our pregame podcast, which is on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, Stitcher. Wherever you listen to your podcast, we are there. So make sure you head on over there, hit subscribe, follow us, and then tune in when we post the pregame podcast the day before the game. Also, game day, we have our tailgate talk show 1 hour before kickoff, breaking down all the last-minute information, going over the inactives list, injuries, all those kinds of things as we prep you for the game that starts just following that show. We also have our halftime hash show as well, live during every Broncos halftime, going through all that information. What?
Nothing. Go on.
Oh, okay. Funny faces from David. I'm like, what'd I say? Because I kind of go into autopilot mode during halftime. So
yeah.
Halftime hash show, guys, live for every Broncos game. I know what you do when halftime starts. You grab your phone. Don't lie to me. Don't say you walk away from it. You don't pay attention to it. You don't watch the commercials and all that stuff. So when you open up your phone, head on over to Facebook, YouTube, or wherever we are live and join in on the halftime hash. Share your instant reactions. Talk about what the Broncos need to do to secure a win in the second half. We also have a ton of other videos and stuff that come out during the course of the week. So make sure you're following us on YouTube and Facebook. As Gary posted up a little bit ago, we are about 400 or so people away from reaching 24,000 followers on Facebook. So if we hit 400 new followers tonight and we hit 24,000 tonight, I will shave my head and go bald for a while. And you guys really don't want to see that because it's a little lumpy. I've tried it before, and that's how I'm speaking from experience here. But I will do it if we get 400 new fans tonight. So hit that share button for us, guys, and like the video and all that good stuff. Man, look, Broncos are getting ready to take on the Chargers. So we are going to officially move over into week 3 here at Bourbon Broncos No BS. David, you ready to talk about this?
Yeah, let's go. Let's do it.
Here's the first thing I have to say. Get ready for this game. We had better have a plan for Ladd McConkey, because thinking about the Chargers, one of the first thing that comes to mind, other than just special teams blunders and stuff, is just how much Ladd McConkey picked us apart the last time we played him. And they were not able to stop him all game long. And when again, week 2, not hitting the panic button, but when I see the defense kind of basically unable to adjust throughout the course of a game where they're struggling in, I'm looking at this saying they have got to have a plan A, B, and C for this guy, because I think they're going to go out there and want to use him against us as much as possible right off the bat. But David, when it comes to this game, man, what are you thinking?
And we had a little bit of a preview of what I was thinking here with Michael's comment with the Joey Bosa is now a Buffalo Bill, Khalil Mack with an elbow injury last night in that Raiders game. And guys, if you're squeamish in any way, shape, or form, I would not suggest going to look up that Khalil Mack injury video. Safe to say he will not be playing against the Denver Broncos this week. So it's really a game the Denver Broncos have a good chance of winning in the trenches on both sides of the football. And that can turn it into anybody's game if you do win in those trenches. If you win it on both sides of the ball, you have a really good chance of going out there and winning the game. And I want to see them emphasize the run game even more on the offensive side of the ball. On the defensive side of the ball, I want them to just get their groove back. I want them to get that mojo back on the pass rush side. On the run stopping side, I want them to make Omari and Hampton as irrelevant as possible. That's what I'm looking for this week, is just look at those trenches, see what matchups you can exploit against the Los Angeles Chargers, because I believe there are matchups to be had there.
And I am looking forward to hearing about those on the pre-game podcast, guys. So make sure you tune in for that on all those podcast platforms. Speaking of winning in the trenches, I want to believe that, first off, it goes back to when Zach Allen went down early in this last week's game. Thank God he came back, because that's just one of those guys that you lose Zach Allen. You're
too.
Like,
good Lord.
Oh, him, yeah. So both of those guys for sure. One name I want to bring up and get your take on. The only thing we've heard from Jonathan Franklin Myers is, I want to get paid more. In terms of his gameplay, we don't hear anything from him in the last 2 weeks. We haven't really seen him. He hasn't really made a play. And we're talking about needing to win in the trenches, man, and overcome some of these tough offensive lines like we saw last. I mean, what you saw last week was, if you stop Denver's pass rush, we are incredibly beatable. So you better know that these teams are going to go out there and try to focus on stopping the pass rush. And Jonathan Franklin Myers is a guy that we need to step up. But between him and anybody else that is coming to mind for you, man, what are you thinking?
Yeah. I mean, we obviously miss Malcolm Roach quite a bit. I feel like his presence can't really be overstated as far as what he frees up Jonathan Franklin Myers and Zach Allen to do. So not having him for this game I think it's going to be another slog of a game from that perspective, but they've just got to step up. Like JFM, Zach Allen, all of this defensive line, they've got to step up. They've got to be a little bit more like they were against Tennessee and a little bit less like they were against Indianapolis. Because, it's hard to say, like, I don't study film like a professional, but I would guess that JFM has an impact on the game just in ways that don't show up on the stat sheet on a down-to-down basis. But I think everybody has, like, everybody on that defensive line has to have accountability for the way that Colts game went. They didn't measure up, any of them. Except, Nick Benito is kind of the only one. I think he has 15 pressures combined in 2 games. Which is tied for the NFL lead. So, we'll give the man his flowers, but I don't know that anybody else stepped up in a major way against the Colts. So I don't want to single anybody out as doing, a bad job. But, certainly you are hoping for more contributions all around against the Chargers.
Yeah. No, well said, man. Well said. I want to go to Brad's comment here. I'm curious if any of your podcast crews, wives, or girlfriends not follow the Broncos. I'm just going to speak for me. That's like a requirement that they do. I know, Jared's wife is saying on the same page. So across the board, it seems like more often than not. But I don't know about you guys. Just for me, it's kind of like a deal breaker, if you're not. But
for me, it's not so much that I have a partner who's a fan. She is excited because it makes me excited, and
that's fair.
And that's really, really nice. And she goes to games with me and is genuinely enthusiastic because I like it so much, and I can't really ask more than that.
Yeah, no, totally agree, man. Totally agree. Let's see. From Gary here, how many San Diego Chargers, LA Chargers does it take to win a Super Bowl? Nobody knows, and we may never find out. Be careful. They are dangerous. I just know that they tend to charger at very opportune times for their opponents. So we'll see what happens there. When it comes to what you're expecting for the game plan coming up, David, offensively, and maybe give us a little bit of background insight to what you're going to talk about on the podcast, the pregame podcast later this week, matchups, game plan, coaching strategies. What are some of the top things that are coming to your mind?
Well, and we talked about it a little bit, but I think the emphasis again has to just be running the football, and getting as much out of that run game as you can against this depleted Chargers front. That you don't have those stud pass rushers that you would ideally have there, and so if you can establish that run game, it just makes things so much easier for your offense. And that's Mike McDonald, not Mike McDonald. He's no longer associated. He never was associated with the Los Angeles Chargers. Jesse Minter, who is a Mike McDonald protege, is the defensive coordinator of the Los Angeles Chargers, and the Mike McDonald defense specifically emphasizes having a little bit more of an exotic look to it at times, a little bit more of an keep offenses guessing, play more simple coverages overall, but disguise it really well is kind of what they like to do. And so it's going to be really, really important for the run game to keep that defense as honest as possible, so that Bo Nix is guessing less and playing instinctively more.
Yeah, that's fair. I think, a big part of Sean Payton's run or game plan needs to, it's got to keep the run game going. Even if you're getting 1 or 2 yards at a time, and just not, you have got to stick with it, because we saw in week 1, if he just wants to ban the run game and goes to the RPOs and play actions and all those things, you don't have a run game, they're not going to fall for it, right? They're going to call your bluff every single time, and it's going to work almost every single time for the defense there to stop us. So I think what we saw here was you feed J.K. Dobbins the ball, you get him going, or whatever running back you want it to be that day, and you keep him going, right? And I'm okay if R.J. Harvey isn't the main guy right now. We don't need to have him out there getting 10 touches or whatever the case is. Let him still let's get everything we can out of J.K. Dobbins, because, again, I don't think we expect him to be healthy all season long. So let's get as much out of him as we can right now. Let R.J. Harvey kind of come up through the ranks, get his football knowledge up and everything, get a little bit of experience here and there, and then call upon him when when we need him. But for the time being, J.K. Dobbins needs to be the guy. And, silly little mistakes like spiking the ball after a first down. Dude, you're a veteran. You can't be doing that. Okay, week 2, stupid mistake. He's not going to do that again. Things like that, right? But in general, I'm excited for these running backs. I'm excited to see what they can do as the year progresses. I want to get a 100-yard rusher, things like that, and just be able to take a lot of this pressure off of Bo Nix. And you're really going to see the offense thrive if the running game gets going consistently.
Yeah, no question about it. Let me ask you, Kev, a matchup in this game that I am really, really looking forward to is this Los Angeles secondary, which is kind of just a mishmash of pieces that they drafted. It's a place that we thought maybe they would be a team that traded for Jalen Ramsey in the offseason. That never materialized. They're just kind of going with what they've got there. And I'm really interested to see this Broncos pass catching group against that secondary to see kind of what the outcome of that is.
Yeah. Well, first off, I think we need to pull the plug altogether and kill any electricity they have. Addison, glad you're here. You're on the wrong team, but glad you're here anyway. Getting excited for the game over here as well. Yeah, I think, if you're looking at the matchups like that in terms of who is on the Chargers secondary, this is a game where I'm thinking, man, Courtland's got to have a bounce back game. I thought we all thought he was going to have a much bigger impact in last week's game with the injuries the Colts had in their secondary. And that just did not materialize, right? And then you're like, okay, talking about Troy Franklin, how he's stepping up in that wide receiver 2 role. So, hey, if you want to focus on Courtland and shut him down, cool. You better be worried about Troy Franklin too.
Right.
Make him pay for that. So for sure. But if you're looking at this, like I'm looking at the list, none of these guys are really household names. None of them are really popping out to me. And so this is a situation where, hey, try and get Courtland the ball again, get him involved early, and give him a bounce back game. But this is something they should be able to do and get the ball growing that way as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And here's another weird narrative. Okay. And I even hesitate to call it a narrative because, like, from a certain point, I understand it's early in the season and you have to have things to talk about, whatever. It's a content generation world and we're all just living in it.
Oh, Nix is getting traded. No, that's great.
But guys, no, we're not. I don't want to talk about how Courtland Sutton looks uninterested after signing a contract extension. He was the only guy that it seemed like Bo Nix was willing to throw to on a regular basis at all in week 1, and that was a terrible offensive performance. I am so happy to see this offense grow beyond Courtland Sutton, which is not to say that I don't expect Courtland Sutton to have a productive season. I still do. But I cannot and will not engage in any conversation about Courtland Sutton not being effective because he has a game that's less spectacular than some of his other games. And specifically, other Broncos receivers are performing well in that same game.
I think maybe part of it, because I picked up on that sentiment from other people as well. And I think maybe part of it is for years now, including last year, for years, Courtland Sutton, the whole wide receiver core has been Courtland Sutton. And then maybe a couple other pieces sprinkled in there that get the ball sometimes, right? If there's a catch made on the Broncos that's a highlight reel, it was Courtland Sutton. So for him to not have a big game, I think people are it throws them off, right? But like what you're saying, like one, people have bad days. 2, maybe that was part of the game plan. Maybe he was just covered really well. Bo didn't want to take the chance right when he saw somebody else open because they were putting better coverage on Courtland. So no, this is a guy that I think he took a pretty good deal for staying in Denver as well. This is a guy that wants to play his whole career here. And so for anyone to be thinking like there's maybe some attitude problems or whatnot, that guy has been through so much crap on the Broncos. You're going to say now he has an attitude problem. This guy's been through Hackett. This guy's been through Vance Joseph. This guy's been through everybody.
Homie was coached by Pat Shurmur. Pat, we practiced incompletions, Shurmur.
I wish I had that audio clip. We were actually practicing incompletions. No, you weren't, you dumbass.
So okay. Yeah. Moving on from Courtland Sutton. Brad, yes, let's talk about Courtland at the end of the year. Let's do it. Come back to me at the end of the year and we'll have a conversation.
I like it. Looking at the Broncos defense there, man. Again, kind of taking last week out of the picture. We're moving on. What are some of the positives that you're seeing there matchup wise between the Broncos and the Colts? Keep saying the Colts, the Chargers offense.
Well, you've got to get this pass rush a little bit more active with Rashawn Slater out for the season. And yeah, Joe Alt looks really good. I can't remember. Are they starting Trey Pipkins at right tackle? Guys, this will be part of the pregame podcast, so don't worry about that.
Yeah, it looks like they are. Yeah.
So that's a guy you can exploit, whether you've got Jonathan Cooper, Nick Benito, Jonah Ellis, whatever over there, whoever over there, you can take advantage of that matchup. And so I expect the Broncos to be able to get a little bit more pressure on Justin Herbert than they were able to on Daniel Jones. There's no Quentin Nelson at guard for this Chargers team, certainly. So that's a big plus to me. And then this receiver core, we've got Ladd McConkey back there, and yeah, he diced the Broncos up, and they schemed him open really well in both matchups last year. So that's got to be an emphasis. My biggest concern is these inside linebackers, and yeah, it's finally come home to roost. Alex Singleton looks like a 32-year-old player who is coming off of an ACL injury. That's exactly what he is. I've seen that one Jonathan Taylor ridiculous run where just Alex Singleton is just looks like he's working on one leg. I mean, really, like he has to stop to change completely stop to change direction and then get started again. And that's, it's just the reality of it. That's the way his knee is medically working right now. It sucks, but it's just not effective enough. And having Dre Greenlaw back is only going to solve the problem partially. So I don't know if we see one of these younger players, a Kareem Reed or a Lavelle Bailey, somebody get a chance there. But I don't know that Alex Singleton is going to be the season-long answer at inside linebacker, even when Dre Greenlaw is back.
Yeah, I'm thinking look, this is a guy that I have a lot of respect for. And you look back to when the injury occurred last year. I mean, how many people play on an torn ACL through 75+% of the game?
Yeah,
without flinching, right? And add that to him being on a contract year. I was really hoping that he was going to be able to bounce back and go out there and really kind of show why he needed to stay on this team. But 2 weeks in, two kind of similar performances, you're like, hey, is this something that we can sustain through the year, or do we need to make a trade? Do we need to find some other piece? Because again, Greenlaw, he comes back this week, he's going to be on a pitch count. He's not going to be out there all the time. What impact do you really think Greenlaw can have, if Alex Singleton is just still broken and not able to play like he used to?
Right.
It could be better, right? It might improve things, but it's not going to solve the problem. And we've gone through so many years just trying to put Band-Aids over these massive leaks and these massive breaks in the team and everything. That doesn't work, right? Yeah. So if this defense wants to be somebody that teams need to really fear, look, you've got to fix up that middle linebacker core, and you got to figure out what to do soon because teams are going to start exploiting that really quickly.
Yeah, absolutely right. No question about it.
No question. Cool. We are getting close to the end of the show here, so we'll keep talking about things for a little bit more, guys. Before we do, I want to remind you all, head on over to broncosandbourbon.com. I don't have a jingle for it yet. I might have David do a little song and dance on camera and use that as a commercial for it. But until then, broncosandbourbon.com. Sign up for free this season. We will be doing membership tiers next year, but for everybody who signs up this season for free, you will get automatically upgraded for free to the next membership tier when we introduce those later on. We also have the Easter egg challenge still going on. So for anybody who finds, or for the first person who finds the Easter egg hidden somewhere on the website, you will receive free lifetime top tier membership. You will never have to pay anything on the website, no matter how expensive it gets. And we're only going to give that out to one person. Now, the clues I have given so far, as well as some guesses that are incorrect, so everybody is aware. The clues are new users are more likely to find this Easter egg than existing users. And if you are already an existing user, maybe you just want to go back and pretend like you're creating a new account again and just see if anything, So those are the two hints. Things that have been guessed so far is, in the field where you're filling out all your personal your information, your name and everything. It is not John Elway for the name. That's just a placeholder. It is not the Go Broncos at gobroncos.com for the example email. Good guess.
That, yeah, it's not that.
It's not that. You guys are looking in the right place, essentially the right area of the website, but we don't have any correct answers yet. So keep looking for that little joke. As soon as you see it, you'll be like, that's got to be what it is. So just keep looking. Yeah, Michael, I can't tell you where to look. It's somewhere on the website. And again, new users are more likely to find it than existing users. So can't just give you the answer, man. That'd be too easy. You guys are close though, in some of the guesses that you're sending my way. So if you think you found it, send us an email or send us a message on Facebook or send us a message through the website on the homepage to tell us where you think it is. And if you are correct, we will be getting you the information on how you're going to be the top all-time free fan that I will never offer to anyone else. So you will be one of one. Okay, guys, let's move on. Couple last things before we do our closing thoughts. David, challenges for the Broncos in general that you're really thinking are things that we're going to have to focus on and overcome to have a chance to win this game.
Well, it's just going to be Justin Herbert, right? Obviously, we saw what Daniel Jones could do to this defense. Justin Herbert is, I think we all think of him as a much more talented quarterback than Jones, at least from an arm talent perspective and overall perspective. The Chargers are a well-coached team. We think of them as a better coached team than the Colts. And it's a division rival who is, again, 2-0 already and 2-0 in the division. So you've got concerns. You've got things to overcome, and you've got to get past the idea. It's a mental thing, Kev. You've got to simultaneously keep in mind and ignore completely the fact that if you lose this game, the Chargers are 3-0 in the division already, and it's going into week 4. And that's, kind of an insurmountable lead going into week 4. So you've got to keep that in mind as a strategic thing if you really want to go where you think you can go in this season. And simultaneously, you can't think about it at all because you've just got to keep the opponent in front of you. So those are big enough challenges to me.
I don't know how I could have said it any better myself. I think, again, for me, I know there's going to be emotions on the team. They're so frustrated after how that last week's game went that obviously I want them to go out there with that chip on their shoulder. I want them to feel like they need to prove to the NFL world that last week was a fluke, that they're the real deal. but not to the point of them making mistakes, not to the
Yeah.
point of them taking stupid penalties and shooting themselves in the foot, right? Which is kind of what we saw in the fourth quarter of this last game, and how just illegal hands to the face or, illegal contact. I mean, we got called on those so many times, and you just can't do it. Those are things that you have to be better, right? And it's just a matter of discipline. It's a matter of awareness. Hey, if the ref is calling that very frequently throughout the game, maybe you got to adjust what you're doing, right, to stop getting those flags, and just follow through a little bit better on something. But it seems like it's a lot of cleanup things, and it's not like we're sitting here saying, oh my gosh, this is a major hole that there's just no way we're going to be able to fix this year. There's concerns going into week 3, but nothing to hit the panic button for. And so, again, if we can tighten some things up, clean some things up, again, we should be able to hang with just about every single team out there. And if you can win this game for the Broncos and just get some real confidence going into the next several, Bengals without Joe Burrow are still, look, they still won last week, with their, I don't even know who their backup quarterback is, but Joe Burrow went out and they still won. Okay. So you can't just assume that with the backup quarterback coming out here for Monday Night Football that they're not going to at least put up a fight. And then when you go on the road to Philadelphia, right, you want some confidence going into those games, not sitting here going, man, we're already 2 games behind, in the division going into week 4. We've dug ourselves into this hole. That just becomes a mess that you don't want to have to deal with. So
Right.
It's interesting. It's interesting for sure. The good thing, though, and Sean, I'll let you say it this time, but, we do have some really good players on the team that even if they don't get talked about a lot, they are always solid and consistent. So,
yeah, right.
Like
Sean Mitchell.
Yeah, Sean knows who I'm talking about. Let's see. I like this one. Justin Herbert told his receivers a joke, but it went over their heads too. Sad thing is Justin Herbert is actually looking pretty good. So, oh man.
Yeah.
Well, David, let's do some closing thoughts, bud, and get people ready for the pregame podcast that'll be coming out later in the week. So hand it over to you, bud. What do you got?
I'm excited for this challenge generally. I do think the Broncos are closer to the team they think they are in their heads than how am I trying to express this? I think they're a good team. I mean, overall, I think the Broncos are a good team, and I think they are the kind of team that can compete with the Chargers, a team that clearly has aspirations on winning the division this year. But it's all well and good for me to think that, and it's another thing entirely for them to go out and do it. So go out and do it. Prove me right.
Yeah.
Prove me right.
Please, for the love of God, prove us right. I think for me, a lot of it boils down to, can you be smart, right? Again, limiting the turnovers, trying to get some. One thing I haven't brought up yet, and just kind of close on this, I don't really see our guys trying to punch the football out of the running back's arms. I don't really see them trying to strip it out. You never see the hand motion. And so I would like to just see a little bit more fight to get control. Some of that desperation that we saw back from the 2015 Broncos defense of like, no, we want to get the ball from you, and we're going to it out. We're going to strip it out. We're going to try everything we possibly can to get that ball out of your hands. So I would just like to see them up. Maybe it's in desperation, I don't know, but just in general, have more of that attitude of, you have the ball, I want it, and I'm going to get it, and you had better make sure you're holding on to it, otherwise it's mine. So I want to see some of that drive, some of that passion come back, and I think maybe they just got in their own heads this last week after things started falling apart, and then Jonathan Taylor started going off in the second half, and they just got exhausted by that point. So look, bounce back week 3. The leadership on the team is really strong. And yeah, I'm just glad we're not the Miami Dolphins right now. Yeah. I'm just going to say that. So, but yeah, man, it's been great. David, you're fantastic as always with your insights and everything. From everybody who tuned into the chat, talking and whatnot. Let's see. Sean still says here, still trying to find our identity. We got to get the ball rolling and start playing the most consistent player in the NFL Mitch Frabroni. Yes, we do. Playing like the most consistent player.
I was going to say, I feel like they're playing him.
Yeah, if they all had the same passion as Mitch Frabroni and his consistency of play style, I think we'd be good. So maybe he's the inspiration the team needs. I don't know, but
be like Mitch.
Be like Mitch, exactly. Well, hey guys, seriously, thanks for tuning in tonight. Remember, pregame podcast coming out later this week. 1 hour before kickoff, we're live with the Tailgate Talk Show and live at halftime as well. So tons of other stuff coming up for you later this week, guys. We are rolling to week 3 strong, believing in the Broncos, believing in the Broncos, and hoping for the second win of the season. But David, again, thank you very much. And I have nothing left to say other than end this show as we always do on a very strong Go
Broncos.
Take care, everyone. We will see you later.
Do what I like. Yeah, I do what I like. Yeah, I do what I like. Sip and go, sip is right. And I go with the flow. Yeah, I go with the flow. Yeah, I go with the flow. Cause I know I'm the show. In the zone, here I go. In the zone, here I go. In the zone, here I go. Yeah, they know I'm a pro.